Hi everyone, my name is Amber Zellhart and I am so excited to be the host of Sizigi Presents Life After College. In this YouTube series, I will be interviewing various guests and touching on different topics to allow you to piece together what you can do to unleash your full potential. In episode 1, we talk about conquering fears. Our guest for this first episode is Jake Brunnquell. He's an avid rock climber, adventure seeker, and just all around a great guy. So I can't wait for him to share his story about what he thought he was going to do with his life, how that ended up turning out, where he is today, and what he does during his free time. Jake will share his stories on how he became who he is today, what has inspired him, who has inspired him, what got him into rock climbing, and basically he'll give you all his tips on how he personally conquered his own fears. So again, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and let's get into the video. Hi, Jake.
Hey, how are you, Amber?
I'm doing so good. How about yourself?
I'm great. Thanks for asking.
That is awesome. Now, I want to thank you once again for being our first ever guest for Sizigi Presents Life After College, Episode 1, with a topic of conquering fears. I'm so excited to have you here today. And Jake, I know you as the outdoor recreation coordinator of UW River Falls, which is the university that I attend. Now, I'm sure that our audience would love to know more about your story. So do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, what you initially thought you would do with your career, and what led you to where you are today?
Yeah, sure. That's a big question. I'll see what I can do. I'm Jake. I'm 26, and like you said, I'm the outdoor recreation coordinator here at UWRF. I've been doing that for 4 years now, which is wild to think about. It flies. I am from a farm town north of Milwaukee, Port Washington, Wisconsin, and I did my undergrad at UW Eau Claire, Go Blue Golds. So when I went there, I actually never toured the school, right? I had a choice between there and lacrosse, and I had toured lacrosse. And I liked the school, but I didn't really like the campus. And I had never even seen Eau Claire, but that was what I chose. And I loved it. It was such a good school. I had such a good time there. So many good memories and so many opportunities that I got to take advantage of. I majored in kinesiology, and I eventually graduated with a pre-professional degree. And what I originally thought I was going to do was physical therapy. I went into my undergrad thinking that was what I was going to do. It was classic, right? I wanted to work with athletes and young populations, people who are motivated, pretty much what a lot of pre-PT students think they want to do. And it was great. And I was really motivated all the way through. And I started shadowing inpatient and outpatient clinics under physical therapists. And I was just less than enthused about it. I was really not that excited when I was going there. It's just shadowing. It's not that exciting, but it wasn't really tripping my trigger. Around that same time, junior, senior year, I started doing strength and conditioning coaching for the volleyball team there. And so that was just a volunteer opportunity that I was reached out to and asked to do. And I was really excited about it. Had never done any coaching in my life, least of all strength coaching, and I didn't really know what I was getting into, but I really liked it. It was a lot of fun. I made a lot of good connections with the athletes, and I learned a lot, and I was applying all of the things that I was learning in school, and it was just a place that I felt comfortable in, and it was something that I seemed to be good at. So I reached out to the softball team, and I started working with the softball team there, and I was kind of bouncing around between those two teams for a couple of years, actually, a couple seasons before I graduated. And so when I graduated, I had a tough time making a decision on what I was going to do, but I ultimately settled on working in strength and conditioning and pursuing an internship and ultimately a career in that. I was convinced, right? I was so sure that was what I was going to do. So I got an internship at University of New Mexico in Albuquerque. And I remember graduating in December, saying goodbye to everybody, getting on a plane by myself, and showing up in New Mexico, and what a ride it was. It's really challenging. I learned a lot. I met a lot of really motivated and powerful people. And it really taught me a lot about what the world looks like outside of school. Sometimes it was kind of a rude awakening at times, but it was definitely what I needed when I needed it. And I'm really thankful for that experience. So I was working with the football team there. And eventually I decided that, football maybe just isn't the best fit for me. I'm like 150 pounds, 5.5 feet tall. It wasn't the best fit. And I realized that. So I moved back home. I did that for 6 months, moved back home. This was still 2017 now. And I was doing another strength and conditioning internship at UW Milwaukee. So I was able to live at home and do more internship work there. I was working with the Olympic sports teams. So soccer, tennis, golf, pretty much every collegiate sport that isn't football or track. So I was working with those athletes and I was having such a great time. I was working with the head coach and we were just starting to work out how I could get my master's degree through there and make it a more long-term position instead of just a 3-month internship. And that was all gaining a lot of traction and we were making some steady moves in the right direction. And right around that time, I got a call from my old buddy, Travis Roy, who I worked in the outdoor program with in my undergrad at Eau Claire. So he was then the outdoor rec coordinator here and he was leaving. They needed somebody to come in quickly, sort of an emergency hire position, because at a university, when you leave in August, there's really no time to turn around and do a full search. They just needed somebody quick. And I fit all the bills. I checked all the boxes and I got a call from my boss now, still my boss, Steve. And we had a couple of conversations. I applied. And I distinctly remember getting a call and he kind of asked me before, but he was legitimately asking me at that point, hey, are you interested? And I said, Steve, I'll drive up there tomorrow. I'll interview, like, well, tell me where and when, and I'll be there. And he's like, no, if you want it, it's yours. I was like walking around in the track in UW Milwaukee and just like freaking out and a lot of pressure. But I said yes. So I took it, right? I signed a contract for 10 months to be here at UW River Falls and pretty much just keep her between the ditches, right? At the time I was 23 years old. We had just moved into the Falcon Center, a brand new building. It was one of the biggest building projects, I think, in university history. So there's a brand new wall, brand new space, brand new outdoor program, brand new coordinator. And I got to learn a lot in the first 10 months here. And I remember distinctly my original plan was to do the 10 months, make a little money because I was working for free. I was going to, do the thing and then find something else and move on, maybe go back to strength and conditioning, get a little bit of higher ed experience and get back on track. But about halfway in, I was like, I can't leave. I was just having too much fun. It was bringing back so many memories from when I was a student manager at Eau Claire for their outdoor program. And I just had a lot of connections through that position. I noticed I had a huge network of people that were supporting me. Things were going well. We were getting a lot of wins. I was just really enjoying myself and I felt like I was where I belonged. So I decided to reapply. And that was really challenging. That was pretty scary to apply for the job that I already had and potentially be told no, which would be a huge shock. But I got it and I got to keep it and I've been here ever since.
That is incredible. I mean, just hearing your story, I can only imagine how you felt going from graduating and then transporting all the way to New Mexico and then being there for 6 months and being like, all right, this isn't for me. And then making your way to Milwaukee and then thinking that you've got it all ready and set in Milwaukee and then getting a call. And it just like, were you overwhelmed?
All the time. Yeah. And the whole time I thought I had it figured out. I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be. I got it all figured out. I'm going to stay here. And then I go somewhere else. And so it was a good learning lesson. Those couple of years there between like my senior year, I took an extra semester at Eau Claire actually. So I was slated to graduate on time in 4 years. And I took an extra semester because I didn't have a plan. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I'm like, I can't graduate and not have a plan. So I took an extra semester. I retook a class I didn't get such a good grade in. It was chemistry. Yeah. And, I really thought the whole time I was like, yep, this is what I'm going to do. This is the right answer. And then it would change. So life had a funny way of doing that. And I'm sure it happens to everybody. Everyone's got a story like that. But yeah, overwhelming is a good word.
That is, wow, yeah. So that is pretty much why I chose you to be the first guest for this episode, because the topic for today's episode is conquering your fears. And I feel like there have been tons of fears that you've gone through with that whole story. So my next question to you is, what are some of your fears that you encountered after college?
Lots. Is this the right call? Am I doing the right thing? Is this really what my career is going to be? Did I pick the right major? How am I going to live without making any money? What if I get fired? Where do I go? I even put off graduating because I was too afraid to graduate without a plan. So I had a ton of fears that were, in my mind, all legitimate. And looking back, they're still extremely legitimate fears that I think a lot of people our age have. Especially this next generation that's starting to go through college and then graduate. A lot of them are first gen. A lot of their parents, especially here at River Falls, I think it's 40% first generation college students, which means that their parents didn't go to school, right. At least not higher education, and at the very least not a 4-year education degree. So they don't know. It's the first time anyone in their family is even trying something like what they're trying. And that's really intimidating. And you're supposed to choose what you want to do for the rest of your life, this degree that's going to label you, and this is going to be your skill set when you're like 18 or 19. That's really challenging. And I had a really hard time with that. And I remember vividly the whole time I was going through school, and as I was approaching graduation, I was constantly reassessing if I was doing the right thing. And I wasn't really taking enough time to just be happy with where I was at. I'm glad I did do that, but it's definitely just a legitimate fear that I had is what I'm doing the right thing, or the thing that I'm supposed to be doing, right? And so many people like hold your hand, and there's so many systems in place from the time you're born, basically all the way until you graduate college, and it walks you through it, right? That's how it works in this country. People will tell you where to go, where to be, when to be there. And you do it, and it kind of walks you through life until you graduate college, and then the doors open wide open. It's wide open, and you're supposed to figure it out. So that was pretty overwhelming. But yeah, I got through it.
So how did you get through it? Like, if you were to go back and just kind of reflect on everything you've been through, what is one thing that just kept you going? Like, what kept you moving forward? How did you overcome those fears?
Sure. Motivation to do well. I'm a first generation college student. My parents have 2-year degrees, and I'm the oldest in my family. So I was the first one to go off to college. And I was pretty motivated to do it right, to set an example for my siblings, and just make my family proud. I also had a really good support network. I had a lot of friends back home in Eau Claire, back home in Port Washington, my family, that I could call, that I could text. My girlfriend at the time, who's now my fiance, she was extremely supportive, and she would just sit and listen to me talk and complain and, be afraid and be vulnerable. And I just had a lot of people that I could lean on. And I definitely owe all of them a big thanks to be where I am today, because I don't think I would have made it on my own. So I think that just having a solid support network, surrounding yourself with good people that care about you, and ultimately just you and not what you're doing. I think that's important, especially as you're approaching that season of life, right? Graduating college, doors wide open. What are you going to do? Go do it. So having a support network is huge.
That's awesome. And with the title of Outdoor Recreation Coordinator, I think some of our viewers who aren't from River Falls don't really know what comes in hand with that. So would you tell us what outdoor recreation is about?
Sure. Yeah, I can try. Outdoor recreation is just, it's just going outside and playing. Outdoor recreation is recreation in general is the idea that with work comes play. Right around the close of World War II, our society in America had really slowed down. People had a lot more free time, and it kind of broke into this break off between working from 9 to 5 and then what do you do? And so this idea of recreation, leisure, came about, where we go and we recreate ourselves. And a great place to do that is outside. And there's tons of ways to do it. You can paddle, you can rock climb, you can go for a hike, you can just walk in your own, you can walk your dog. And some of that stuff, some of those skills have a higher barrier to entry, maybe just requiring a little bit more skill set or education or a guide perhaps, or some expensive equipment. And so what I do is, and what I believe I do, is try to break those barriers down or bridge those gaps so that anybody can have the opportunity to try new things and recreate outdoors. Specifically, I operate the climbing wall here. I operate the rental center, and I operate the trips program. I also teach outdoor education classes on the side, and I've been continuing to get more and more involved in our outdoor ed minor, which has been a lot of fun and a really great challenge for me to teach college level classes in a lecture style format. It's a ride. So I've been enjoying that as well.
That is awesome. And I know that you are an awesome rock climber because I'm one of your students for the rock climb class that you do teach. Now, would you like to tell us a little bit more about that? What got you into rock climbing? When you started doing it, is there anything or anyone who inspired you to start rock climbing?
That's a good question. I started rock climbing when I was 19, and it kind of ties into the story of how I got into outdoor rec in general. So growing up, I never went rock climbing. I never was in a climbing gym. I didn't know it was a sport. It just wasn't, I didn't have access to that kind of thing, which is fine. It was a sign of the times. But so I had been working out with this guy he was the outdoor rec coordinator at Eau Claire. And so I met him, we became friends. I would meet him at the gym and we would train together. We were just workout buddies. And around I was 19, I was in my sophomore year, and he needed someone to lead rock climbing trips. And he had known me for a while. And he kind of approached me and he said, "Hey, do you have a job? Are you thinking about jobs?" And I was, I was thinking about jobs, and I didn't have one and I needed one. And, I kind of told him that, and he's like, "Well, have you ever thought about rock climbing? What do you think about leading rock climbing trips?" I'm like, "I've never led that or done that, but it sounds amazing." And so you're just not going to say no to something like that. And I remember in that same day, in that same conversation, we finished our workout, and then he took me up to the climbing wall, taught me how to belay in like 2 minutes, and showed me how to rock climb. And I was hooked. I was just so hooked. I loved it. I'm built for it. It's a vocation almost, and it's something that I'm good at, which I really enjoyed. It's something that I was good at right away, which is also really motivating to keep getting into it. But the community was really kept me going. Just the people that like to rock climb, the people that are gravitated towards that sport, they're all incredible. They're all awesome. The community is so vibrant and healthy, and they support each other. And you could be climbing outside and just meet some of the coolest people, and you won't even remember their name, and that's fine. And that's a pretty regular occurrence in the climbing world. So I just really love it. The people are amazing. It's always a good challenge. There's a lot of crossover and a lot of lessons that you can learn from rock climbing that you can bring back to your everyday life. And you can use those things to just help you get through some tough times. So it's just a nice sport that I like to lean on, and it gives me some identity and some purpose. And I'm really, really fortunate to be able to make a living running a climbing wall, teaching people climbing. Teaching climbing for credit is wild. So I'm really lucky.
That is awesome. I admire you because I feel like you come into work every day and you are doing something that you love, and you're teaching people how to do something that they could potentially love as well. Like initially, before I was your student, I had a huge fear of heights, fear of falling. And then I feel like within the past 8 weeks of being your student and you sort of teaching us how to climb and how to and how to just like fall, I've been able to really overcome that. And now I go to school and I'm like, all right, I want to climb the wall even without having to go to class. So that's just like awesome for me. And you mentioned how you had never climbed before, and then you were offered that opportunity. Did you have any fears of falling?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I was so afraid of heights. But I kind of put 2 and 2 together. You can't lead rock climbing trips and be afraid of heights. So I just kind of didn't tell anybody until I was like really deep into it. I remember my first outdoor trip. It was a few months into my climbing career, And I was up in Duluth, and we were climbing in Casket Quarry, and we lowered in, set the anchor, and then I had to rappel down. And looking back, the system was totally safe. I was secure the whole time. I had somebody next to me the entire time, but I was inside. I was just freaking out. I had a big backpack on, huge jacket, crampons, big boots that didn't fit. Like it was, it was stressful. And I think that was the first time I looked at my mentor, Al, and I was like, Al, like I'm afraid of heights. he looks over, he's like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'm freaking out. Man, I still have a picture that I look at, and I look super happy in it, and I'm waving at the camera, but I'm freaking out on the inside, and I'll never forget that. So yeah, I just kind of swallowed my pride, and I admitted that to the person I was around in a safe space. And you know, there wasn't much to it. I just kind of kept exposing myself to it little by little, and little by little I got more and more familiar with it. And now it takes quite a bit for me to get afraid of heights. Still really afraid of falling, but I trust the gear, and I know a lot about what I'm doing and how I do it. And I have a lot of faith in my skills, and so that takes a lot of that fear away from things like falling or things that I can't control. And that's kind of part of the risk you take, right? It's an inherently dangerous sport, and I accept that every time I tie in.
How often do you climb? Like,
Meh.
like not just the wall at on campus, but like actual mountains and yeah.
As much as I can. In season, I climb year round. So in rock season, I'll probably get out of here. I like to get out of here like 4:30, 4:45, and immediately go to either Willow River or Barn Bluff and Red Wing. And I'll probably do that 3 days a week. And I'll probably try and get out like at least one day in the weekend too. So four days a week, as much as I can. And then in the winter, I'll go ice climbing. I recently got involved with working at the ice park up in Sandstone, Minnesota. So I'm an ice farmer now. And that's been getting me up to the ice park a lot more this season. So I'm usually getting like 1 day of ice climbing per week on average. There'll be weeks where I don't climb at all, but then there'll be a week where I climb 3 or 4 days. So it varies, but I'm trying to get 100 days of climbing in period this year. So this is the first time I've ever actually tracked how often I climb. Actually, I was just climbing before this interview, so I have to write that down. Yeah, trying to get to 100 days in a year. I think I'll get it. I'm up to like 24 or something.
Do you have any initial fears before each climb? I mean, like you said, you climb all year round. So, but with all that experience, do you still have any initial fears that you just can't get rid of, or do you just go?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. It's usually fear of failure. So that's the whole point of climbing, right? Is to climb something hard. And it can always be harder. That's the best part about it is as soon as you got good at it, and as soon as you climbed whatever it is you're trying to climb, there's always something harder, and there's always someone better. So it's just this constant challenge that you can come back to and revisit. And if it's too much, or you're just banging your head against the wall, literally or figuratively, you can step away, do something else for a while, and then come back to it when you're ready. So it's always challenging, and that to me is part of the reason we do it, is to push ourselves. But I have objectives. You know, I have certain climbs that I really want to put down. I want to red point them, and I'll look at them and I'll get this pit in my stomach, even though I've climbed it and I've practiced it so many times. I'm just afraid of falling, not because falling is scary, but failure is scary. And I just have to learn how to swallow that and just say that failure is a part of learning, is a part of the process. And so I get that a lot, especially when I go to Willow River and the wall is like doing this, you know, way back over my head. And I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna fall. That's okay. Like I can fall. It's okay to fall. It's okay to fail. Like I just got to go up there and do it. So all the time, constantly afraid of failure in climbing. But that's why I keep doing it, because I think that it's important to face that and be able to digest that and move past it.
Does that also sort of help you guide your way through life as well? Because just how you mentioned how you've done it so many times, but even when you find yourself in a place where you're comfortable, like you said, it just gets a little harder. There's someone who's a little better. So I think right when you said that, I felt, wow, that just like, I feel like even though I don't climb as much as you, or I've never climbed an actual mountain before, I I feel like I relate with you because that's kind of the road of life. You feel like you're comfortable at one point, and then it gets a little bit more challenging. And like you said, you can take a break, you can step back, but then you just got to keep going. Does that help you, like with your experience in climbing, does that help you sort of guide your way through life?
Definitely. Yeah. You kind of hit it. It's exactly like life. You know, sometimes it gets you meet a little too much resistance. You can't move past it. You're not really sure how. You don't have the answers. No one else is up there to tell you how to do it. You feel all alone. You just got to stop, maybe even come back, lower down, and reassess, and then come back when you're ready. So yeah, all the time. It's a perfect allegory for life. I think that climbing and then pairing that with just surrounding myself with a lot of people that I think are better than me in life in general. My coworkers are all incredible. A lot of the students that I teach, a lot of the students that work for me, they're all incredible. They teach me things all the time. So just, I think keeping an open mind to challenge in general and fear in general has helped me overcome a lot. And I have challenges and issues just like everybody else. Everyone's got something, right? I think a lot about mindset, having a growth mindset and being open to the idea that failure is just learning in disguise. The idea that you can't expect to be really good at something the first time you do it, and just giving myself grace as I process failure and move through failure, and just being open and accepting to the idea that I'm not going to be as good as I want to be or as good as I need to be all the time, and that I can take it, digest it, learn from it, and then come back later and then execute a little bit better. And you just keep doing that more and more and more and more and more. And yeah, that's just how I try to go through life. A lot like climbing.
That is awesome. Wow. I'm blown away by your story. I'm blown away by it all, which is why I'm like, again, super excited to have you here. So both based on your story and your experience, what are your personal tips on conquering fears?
That's such a good question. And it's different for everybody, right? Everyone's going to have something that can ground them. But that's, I think, the most important thing is to have something in your life, something that you identify with that grounds you. If you're doing it and you're in the moment with that thing, whatever it is, you just feel like yourself. This is who I am. This is what I do. You just are grounded and you identify with that. I think having a baseline is the most important part of facing any type of challenge. And so that always helps. For me, it's climbing. I know that's what I identify with. That's what I want to do as long as I can. And I want to teach people, as many people as I can, how to climb so that they can empower themselves to go do it and then show other people. And I just feel motivated that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So that grounds me. And having that identity helps me to then branch out, try new things, learn how to fail, do that gracefully, and then learn from it and then come back better. So I think having some sort of a baseline or identity thing to just attach to and latch onto is really helpful. I also think having a growth mindset is really important. I highly recommend the book. I think it's called Growth Mindset. I'm reading it right now. The idea that you can have a fixed mindset where you think that your traits are what they are. You were born with them. They can't be changed. That's kind of limiting in a lot of ways. And there's some science that proves that it's limiting, versus having this idea and letting this idea guide you. The idea that your skills and your traits can be changed, warped, improved, ignored sometimes. You can change a lot of the things about you. And if you just approach challenges and tasks with that mindset, with that growth mindset, usually things go a lot better and you are a lot less hard on yourself. And typically you experience more success because of it, because now failure in a way is success because you're just learning and you're approaching failure with that mindset. So I really try to apply a lot of things from that book in my life as well. So I recommend reading it.
I will definitely look into that. Did you say that was Growth Mindset?
Growth Mindset. Dr. Carol Dweck, I think, is the author.
Awesome. That's next on my list. I promise you, I'm going to read that before the semester ends for sure.
Perfect. Yeah.
I got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
But I appreciate everything that you've said today, and I'm sure that our audience appreciates it as well. It's awesome that you can do something that you love, and that is also something that'll help you just guide your way through life. And that's inspiring to me, and I hope that it inspires our audience. But for my next question, Who or what motivates you to keep challenging yourself every day?
My fiance definitely pushes me to be better. And man, God bless her. She's so good at it. She knows just how to push me the right way where I get a little bit upset, but just upset enough to do something about it. And she'll just push me out of my comfort zone like that. And I really appreciate her for it. And a lot of the times in the moment, I'm not as graceful as I should be with her. And, I don't realize that's what she's doing until after the fact, but I'm always thankful for it when I realize it. And we kiss and make up and, we have those discussions and it's fine. It's like every other relationship, but, yeah, she definitely pushes me to be better and makes me want to be better for her and ultimately the family that I'll have. So definitely Autumn.
Well, you are a lucky man because she sounds incredible. If you could go back in time, what is one thing that you would tell your freshman in college?
Savor it. Yeah, just enjoy it because it's a special time, I really miss my undergrad. I mean, I'm having a great time now in my mid-20s, like I'm having the time of my life, but there's something special about my undergrad that I'll always miss and I'll always value it. And I would give anything to go back and do it all again. So savor it. Yeah, just really soak it up because it's not there forever.
Alrighty, I'll remember that too. I'm a senior and I'm trying to savor it.
Really take it in because it's going to all be taken away and you can't get it back. And it's a special thing. So just enjoy it.
I feel like that's a little scary as well.
That's what makes it special, I think. Beauty is fleeting, right? It's special because we can't have it forever. And there's that whole adage of don't frown because it's over, smile because it happened. Like that's real and that carries a lot of merit. And it's special because you can't have it forever. So just, enjoy it. Savor it.
Savor it. Now, do you have, Jake, any final message for our viewers?
Go climb. Go try climbing. No, if you're afraid of something, fear is just the definition. How did I read it? I was reading it the other day. It's fear is just a lack of understanding of something we don't know about yet. Something like that. How is it written? Being afraid of something just means you don't understand it yet. So if you're afraid of something, if you're afraid of anything, try and learn about it. Try and approach it in a different way and just see what you can find out and try and answer why you're afraid of it, not how to be not afraid of it. And just try to search for more understanding in the things that scare you. And I think that would help a lot of people in a lot of ways. So, yeah.
For sure. Well, again, thank you so much, Jake, for joining us today. I am definitely inspired by this whole interview, and I hope that this has inspired our audience as well. Your story is definitely one for the books for sure, because I don't know that many people your age who have accomplished so much and have just gone through so much as well. Like, I feel like people notice where you're at or the outcome, but they don't see the struggle. They don't know what you did to get there. So I'm really glad and I appreciate that you took the time today to share your story.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, Amber. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jake.
Yeah. All right.